So yeah, we talked a lot about AI during the podcast, and there's a very strong element that impacts the use of AI by insurance companies is certainly the governance aspect. And insurance industry is usually, not usually, is always a highly regulated industry, in some countries more than others. But it's constant, especially in Europe, is that the regulation upon insurers is increasing and sometimes conflicting. AI, on the other hand, it was at the beginning not so regulated, or maybe not so much still today. However, insurers have been investing so much in tech and so much in AI that there is a bit of a gray zone that's been existing. At the beginning, it was more from the insurance point of view to explore the use of AI, whether it's something that was being used as an improvement tool for the value chain, for the client services, to create efficiency, to optimize the use of data. There were of course, a lot of common sense that was being used by insurers to protect the data, the information, and the process that the insurers had, and that they were governed by the regulation upon the insurer in their home country or in other countries for some of the contracts. And therefore, there was a lot of caution that was used there. So the regulation that and the governance that were being developed were a demand, I would expect, from the insurance point of view, from the board, from the insurers themselves, because when we have a project or a pilot, a proof of concept that we would like to pay for, we don't want to do something which is outside the scope of regulation today, or what we would expect is the scope of the regulation in the future. And the more intensified was the use of the AI and the AI tools, the more it was necessary for having internal regulation. There were a lot of debate internally between insurers in countries or within insurance group to know what is allowed, what is not allowed, what employees were doing, what companies or subsidiaries were doing versus the group, and so on. So there was a lot of debate, a lot of contradicting information, a lot of frustration as well, fear and misunderstanding. So the fact that regulation has been developed and is coming now on the, I would say, the market, but basically is coming upon the insurance companies, is being integrated in all digital regulations and pieces of law or circular letters, is something which, although normally I would say too much regulations is not good, in this instance is something which I would say is strongly welcome, to give guidelines, to give a framework for insurers to know what to do. It's something which would really pacify the debate inside companies, would probably put a bit of requirement on budget and time allocated to creating inside the right process, the right governance, but certainly is in the long term, in terms of sustainability of the usage of AI, is strongly welcome. From the board point of view, I would expect as well that board members and the managers of companies feel much more at ease in terms of discussions and debating on the usage of AI, whether directly, whether it's for internal use or in relationship to clients, or in all the service providers that are used by insurers and the distributors. It's something which can create the right level of understanding, the right level of debate, and the ability to drive and define solutions which are acceptable to all, as opposed to too challenging and too... It's a solution that would not have been developed with the right mindset although technically well, technical, so digitally technically, but also actuarial technically or legally technically, could have driven some fear towards part of the stakeholders. And in those instances, the prudential approach would be that if one of the key stakeholders doesn't feel comfortable with the situation, the solution should not be implemented or should be reviewed or scaled down. So time now is the right time where, after learning and experimenting, insurers and all the members of the ecosystem start having a clear understanding of the scope of the development and what is possible to do. There is what we would say in French, a bémol to this, is that the regulation that's been developed now may not be the most up to date, and the implementation will still take for the whole ecosystem a while. And the fear I have is that if the evolution of the legislation is simply piling up pieces of law and circular letter on top of each other, then it's going to become a ginormous pain for all the ecosystem. So the discipline that we should have in further developing our own governance as the insurers, exchanging with the legal and legislation element in a country or in Europe, would be to keep on being intelligent and evolve, making things evolve gradually, rather than just creating a burden for insurers, which is counterproductive, especially since AI is supposed to improve dramatically the efficiency, client services, and the ability for insurers to innovate.